Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Carl with another podcast for you. Today I want to talk about road trips. So, have you ever been on a road trip? I am currently on a road trip, so I thought I would go ahead and talk about my experience on this road trip. First, a road trip is great because you're in your car and you're on the ground and you can stop in all the little towns and places that you would normally not be able to visit without having your own car. Flying in a plane is fast and direct and efficient. However, you don't get a chance to stop in all the small towns and little gas stations and visit things on the road that you would normally never see if you were just to fly directly to the big city that you're going to. Now, I want to give you an example of something. And specifically, I want to talk about a person that I met while checking out of my hotel in a small town. Let me see, where were we? We were in, um, I think it might have been a small town in Texas or New Mexico. We were on our way to Georgia. I can't remember exactly the small town, but there was a guy standing on the stairwell outside of my hotel room. And he was kind of looking at me, and I was looking at him, so I gave him a chin up, which is something you do. It's kind of like, "What's up, dude?" And without saying anything, you just raise your chin and you make eye contact and you look at the guy, and it's kind of a friendly, respectful way of saying, "I see you, what's up?" And we're cool, something like that. So it's not super friendly, but it's kind of friendly thing to do. So I give this dude the chin up. He gives me the chin up, and then he walks down the stairwell, and we start a conversation. Now this guy I'd never seen before. He'd never seen me, but we're just being friendly. And people in the southern parts of the United States, I would say, are known for being more friendly than in other parts of the United States. So he gives me the chin up. I gave him the chin up. He gives me the chin up. I said, "What's up?" And he comes over and he says, uh, "Where y'all going?" So that's a southern way of saying, "Where are you?" Plural, you guys, or you two. Where are you two going? But in the South, they say y'all. Where are y'all going? Right? So I told him we were on our way to Georgia. And then he said that he'd been there before and said a few things. And he had such a thick southern accent, I could barely understand him. So I asked him where he was from, and he told me that he was from Florida, like out in the sticks, in the countryside of Florida. So he had a really strong accent. It was difficult to understand. And then we got talking, and in a very short time, he basically told me his life story. So he told me that he was from Florida and that he'd been shot in the head before. So he had some scars on his head from where he was shot. And he removed his baseball cap and turned around, and sure enough, he had some big red um, skin, like scar marks on his head where he'd actually been shot. He claims to have been shot by a bullet in the head and survived it. And then I said, "Well, now, who shot you? And how did that happen?" And he said that when he was younger, he was in a gang. So it was some kind of gang fight, and he'd been shot. And then further along in the discussion, he says he had been in jail for 10 years for stabbing someone. And I was thinking, oh man, is this guy safe? Is he going to stab me? But I looked down, and he was he didn't have any weapons on him. He didn't have a gun. He didn't have a knife. and he didn't look menacing. He was being pretty friendly. So I kind of relaxed, let my guard down, and we continued to talk. Then he told me that not only was he in prison, but when he was younger, he was a foster child. So a foster child is someone that's parents gave them up for adoption and they don't have their own family. So a foster child will go between family to family and they basically don't have their own, their biological parents are not raising them. So their parents have given them up. It's kind of like giving up for adoption, and so then the kids stay temporarily in different homes. So this guy was a foster child, and so I found that out about him. And then we were talking about, oh, he also told me that when he was 13 years old, his best friend was shot to death, was killed. So from a very young age, he was involved in like gangs and violence, and I guess he had a very rough childhood. And mind you, I just met this guy at the hotel 5 minutes earlier, and he basically told me his whole life story in a span of under 10 minutes. He's a very friendly guy, and he even told me that he was working in some kind of construction, and he had a truck where he would climb up in the truck and he would cut trees next to the power lines. So that was his current job. So, anyways, that was just one interesting character I met on the road. Oh, he also said that he was from Florida, so he wasn't afraid of alligators, and he liked to fish, and I don't know if he'd wrestled an alligator before or something, and you never know if these stories are all true or not, but he definitely had the scars on his head, which looked like they could have been from a bullet. And so that was an interesting character I met on the road. And if I wouldn't have been making a road trip, I wouldn't have stayed in that random hotel and I would have never met this dude. I can't remember if his name was Mike or something like that. It was a common name. But I really enjoyed the experience. And I, that's part of going on a road trip is meeting people on the way. Whether if it's people that work in the gas stations, I met another character at a gas station, or this guy at a hotel, or maybe you're just traveling through a city in a coffee shop and you meet random people and it's part of traveling. It's part of the traveling road trip experience that I really enjoy. So I hope you enjoy that story. And that is a true story, and it just happened about 2 days ago. And in a little hotel somewhere on the road in the area of Texas or Georgia, somewhere in that part of the U.S., in the southern part of the United States. So I hope you enjoyed that story, and I invite you to take a class with me on italki. My name's Carl. I enjoy having conversations with all of my students, and we can talk about stories or song lyrics or movies that you've watched or your favorite road trip. Where have you gone on a road trip before? Have you traveled through the United States? Have you traveled through your country? Have you experienced the joys and the pains of being on the road, taking a road trip? Let me know and book a class. Thanks a lot. I will see you soon. Bye.